It was a quiet evening and I was home alone with my dog, Max. He was a golden retriever, friendly and loyal, and we spent most of our evenings curled up on the couch together. But that night, something strange happened. I was in the kitchen making dinner when I heard Max barking furiously from the living room. I rushed in to see what was wrong, and that's when I saw it. Another dog standing in the middle of the room. At first, I thought it was a stray that had somehow gotten inside, but something about it felt off. It was a black dog with matted fur and glowing red eyes. Max was growling, his fur standing on end, but the other dog didn't move. It just stood there, staring at me. I grabbed Max and backed away, my heart pounding. The black dog suddenly lunged at us, and I screamed, but it vanished into thin air before it could reach us. I searched the house, but there was no sign of the dog. Max was trembling, and I couldn't calm him down. The next morning, I found something strange on the floor, a set of paw prints leading from the living room to the front door. I never found out what that dog was, but I still can't shake the feeling that it wasn't just a stray. To this day, Max refuses to go into the living room at night. A few days later, I was going through the photos I'd taken that week. Most of them were normal, but one stood out, a shot of the living room taken just before the incident. At first glance, it looked like a typical photo of Max lounging on the couch. But when I zoomed in, I saw it. The black dog standing in the corner of the room, its red eyes glowing faintly. I showed the photo to a friend, and this time they didn't dismiss it. We both felt the same unease, the same sense that something wasn't right. We decided to investigate, to see if we could find any more clues. When we arrived at my house, everything looked normal. But as we walked into the living room, we noticed something strange. The air was colder, and the room felt heavier, like something was watching us. And then we saw it, a shadow moving in the corner, just out of the corner of our eyes. We didn't stay long. We left the house as quickly as we could, and I haven't been back to the living room at night since. But sometimes, when I'm alone in the dark, I think about that dog. I think about the paw prints, the glowing eyes, the shadow in the corner. And I can't help but wonder, was it watching us the whole time? Or was it something else entirely? It was a cold winter night, and I was walking my dog Bella in the woods near my house. The snow was falling softly, and the only sound was the crunch of our footsteps. As we walked, I heard a howl in the distance. It was deep and guttural, unlike any dog I'd ever heard. Bella stopped in her tracks, her ears perked up, and she began to growl. I tried to pull her along, but she refused to move. The howl came again, closer this time, and I felt a chill run down my spine. I shone my flashlight into the trees, but I couldn't see anything. Suddenly, Bella started barking furiously, pulling at her leash. I turned around and saw a figure standing in the shadows. It was tall and thin, with glowing yellow eyes. It looked like a dog, but it walked on two legs. I ran, dragging Bella behind me, and didn't stop until we were back at the house. The next morning, I went back to the woods to investigate, but there was no sign of the creature. I never found out what it was, but I still hear that howl in my nightmares. Bella refuses to go near the woods now, and I don't blame her. A few days later, I was going through the photos I'd taken that week. Most of them were normal, but one stood out, a shot of the woods, taken just before the incident. At first glance, it looked like a typical snowy forest scene. But when I zoomed in, I saw it, the figure, standing between the trees, its glowing eyes faintly visible in the darkness. I showed the photo to a friend, and this time they didn't dismiss it. We both felt the same unease, the same sense that something wasn't right. We decided to investigate, to see if we could find any more clues. When we arrived at the woods, everything looked normal. But as we walked deeper into the forest, we noticed something strange. The trees were marked with deep scratches, like something had been clawing at them. The scratches were fresh, and they led to a small clearing. In the center of the clearing was a circle of stones, arranged in a pattern that looked almost ritualistic. In the middle of the circle was a pile of bones, animal bones mostly, but there were a few that looked disturbingly human. We didn't stay long. We left the woods as quickly as we could, and I haven't been back since. But sometimes, when I'm alone in the dark, I think about that figure. I think about the howl, the glowing eyes, the scratches on the trees, and I can't help but wonder, was it watching us the whole time? Or were we the ones who stumbled into its territory? It was a quiet summer night, and I was home alone with my dog, Buddy. He was a German Shepherd, smart and protective, and we spent most of our evenings together. That night, I was watching TV when Buddy started growling. I looked up and saw him staring at the front door, his fur standing on end. I went to investigate, but there was no one there. I tried to calm him down, but he kept growling, his eyes fixed on the door. Then he started barking furiously, and I heard a knock. I opened the door, but there was no one there. Buddy pushed past me and ran outside, barking at something in the darkness. I followed him, but he suddenly stopped and began to whimper. I shone my flashlight into the darkness, and that's when I saw it. A figure standing in the shadows. It was a man, dressed in all black, with a mask covering his face. He was holding a knife, and he was staring right at me. I screamed and ran back inside, locking the door behind me. Buddy stayed outside, barking furiously, but the man was gone by the time the police arrived. I never found out who the man was or what he wanted, but I know Buddy saved my life that night. To this day, he refuses to let anyone near the front door after dark. A few days later, I was going through the photos I'd taken that week. Most of them were normal, but one stood out, a shot of the front yard, taken just before the incident. At first glance, it looked like a typical photo of Buddy lounging on the grass. But when I zoomed in, I saw it. The figure, standing in the shadows, his mask faintly visible in the darkness. I showed the photo to a friend, and this time, they didn't dismiss it. We both felt the same unease, the same sense that something wasn't right. We decided to investigate, to see if we could find any more clues. When we arrived at my house, everything looked normal. But as we walked around the front yard, we noticed something strange. The ground was disturbed, like someone had been digging there recently. And then we saw it, a set of footprints leading away from the house. They were large, with deep impressions, and they led into the woods. We didn't stay long. We left the house as quickly as we could, and I haven't been back to the front yard at night since. But sometimes, when I'm alone in the dark, I think about that man. I think about the knife, the mask, the footprints, and I can't help but wonder, was he watching us the whole time? Or was he waiting for the right moment to strike? So guys, these stories remind us that sometimes the scariest things happen in the places we feel safest. Whether it's a shadowy dog, a howl in the woods, or a masked figure at the door. Danger can be closer than we think. Stay safe, stay alert, and always trust your instincts, because you never know who or what might be watching.